and they have what's called a House of Commons. Now, in the House of Commons, you can take what's called a vote of no confidence. Yep, I said it. I looked it up too. It's called a vote of no confidence. It means that when you go before the parliament, or you in that parliament before the House of Commons, you can actually, the people can actually vote and say, we don't believe that the government has our best interests at heart. They can take that vote. And now if it passes, then they can institute a brand new government. Brand new government. All because they have what's called no confidence in the current government. All because of that. A lot of times, we have no confidence in God. We don't have confidence that God will answer our prayers. We don't have the confidence that says, God, I know you're going to intervene on my behalf. You're going to step in and move like no other. We don't have that confidence. Why we don't have that confidence? Because we're not tuned into the will of God. Because we're praying with the wrong focus. If we change our focus to be according to the will of God, then we can approach Him with the freedom of speech. And all of a sudden we come before Him with extreme confidence to say, God, I know you're going to answer. Because I